Andy Aldred asks, as it's Kinsey on this episode, so he's got one specifically for you. What is your first Nintendo memory? Now he's opening up to games or other stuff as well. And also, this is a three-parter. He also wants to know if you're visiting the Seattle area, where he recommends visitors go. And I don't think it's necessarily video game related. I don't know. But and then he also wants to know if I've ever been to Europe or if you've ever been to Europe. So let's start with Nintendo. What's your first Nintendo memory?
Actually, when you asked me this, I instantly knew the answer. Because when we got our NES, it was actually for my dad.
Okay.
So it was not for the kids. And then it was like, all right, maybe it could be for the kids. But it was, Dad's gonna beat Zelda before you guys can touch this. And so I just remember being there with like the strategy guide. Like, I had the one with the tap dancing homeless wolf on it. And I'm sure someone out there is like, I had that one.
Oh, I'm sure.
But that was my job. It was more like, I'm gonna watch my dad and he's drawing out all the maps.
Oh, that's cool.
It was really, really cool. But then when he beat it, and it was like, do you want to go to the second quest? And he was like, yes, I do. And then it was like, you got 3 hearts and no sword. Good luck. And he's like, I'm done with video games.
Oh, really? So does that mean you just had one game?
We started with Zelda, but then we also had a football game and Rampage, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah, me too.
So, and that was my go-to. After I played Zelda for a while, and I was still kind of young, so I beat the first couple dungeons, and I was like, this game's hard. I basically spent all of my time with Rampage, and Mario, of course.
Yeah. Well, for me, I was a little bit older than you, but at the time I was a big Commodore 64 kid. But I remember that I lived in a small town, and there was this local video game rental place that was kind of mom and pop. This is, in my town, we didn't have Blockbuster or anything quite like that, so we had this little mom and pop place. And it was really funny because you'd go in there and there'd be like a wall of VHS movies to look at. And then you would have way in the back the adult section behind like a curtain, you know? And you see people coming in and out of it sometimes. And as I was definitely younger, I was like in junior high, whatever. But anyways, in between those two was the Nintendo wall. And I remember going there and it was wood paneling, and it was this really dinky place, and they basically just had this wall of boxed NES games. And I remember just going, what is that? Because I was a Commodore kid, those boxes were never really unified, you know, and I was really cool. The first thing that stood out in my mind was all these unified boxes for the NES and all these games I'd never heard of, and it looked like a wall of adventure. It was just like, you know, going into, you know, I just wanted it so badly. And at that time we would rent, so I don't even think we actually had a VHS player. We would rent them from this place.
Yeah.
You know, because they were originally fairly expensive, and the movies could be expensive too. And so we rented the original NES and took it home. You'd get like 2 games, and then you take it home on a weekend, like a Friday night, and play. And it was a very good memory. I love that place quite a bit.
Nice.
So the other part is people visiting Seattle. Where do you recommend that they go? And that's kind of open, right?
Yeah, because I really like Seattle.
And you know all the really good beer places.
I do drink a lot of beer, and Seattle's fantastic for breweries.
It is.
Especially because they're all like so close together.
Yeah.
You can do like a brewery crawl.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain neighborhoods like Georgetown, Fremont, West Seattle, where you can literally just park your car, get out, and go to a bunch of really awesome places to eat, and also breweries. So would you choose that, or is there any other place that you would say you have to go?
Seattle's also really good about having like video game bars.
Yeah,
as well.
That's true.
So we have like Add-A-Ball, which is an arcade, and then there's Shorty's, which is actually pretty famous. So some people might have heard of it.
Right.
It's a bar for pinball, and it's kind of like a punk bar. One of Seattle's last punk bar
I've never been there, but I need to go.
What?
I know.
We're going.
I know. That's cool. And then as far as like touristy stuff, you know, everyone always says Pike Place Market, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
You get to see the very first Starbucks, and there's always a line. There's people performing in front of it, which is pretty neat. But I actually really like Snoqualmie Falls, which is a little bit outside of Seattle, but it's this massive fall.
It's really beautiful.
It's amazing, and you start by the lodge, and you can kind of walk around it, and it's just something you see out of like a movie. And then you can go down below if you're adventurous and get down below the falls and experience that. So something you don't really hear about a lot, but it definitely will leave a mark on you. So
yep. And there's cool destination spots if you're a Twin Peaks fan.
That's very true. That's North Bend, right? And then the third one question was, have I ever been to Europe? I have, absolutely. And have you?
I have not. One day.
Yeah. So about 10 years ago or so, Rebecca, my wife, and I, for our honeymoon, we basically went on a best of Rick Steves tour. So,
God, I love Rick Steves.
I know. So Rick Steves he writes a bunch of travel guides, and he is actually stationed out of not Kirkland, it's
Edmonds.
Edmonds, thank you.
When you went, did you wear khaki pants and like a button-up t-shirt with a backpack with one strap?
Well, so here's
I hope so.
Kind of, because here's the deal: is that if you take his best of tours, so there are 21 days, and we added another week on that, and so you're in a bunch of different countries, and you are staying at little bed and breakfast kind of hostels, and it's very quick. You may get a 1 day a week to do laundry, and so it's all about just like, you don't take a lot of stuff with you,
right?
And so you have to take stuff that maybe can be washed in a sink, or can be worn multiple times. So I did have some really dorky pants. It was not a proud moment. Well, and I learned this too, that especially in some parts of Europe, shorts are really not acceptable on men.
Yeah,
especially in Italy. And so for that, I did need some, because I usually, in the summertime, which is kind of summer fall, I would normally wear shorts, and that was like a no-no. So
same with tennis shoes. Like,
right.
You're a tourist. Oh, what?
Yeah, exactly. But I absolutely had a mind-blowing time I went to Amsterdam and Austria, Germany, Italy, France. I went to all those places. And the thing that really struck me was just how amazing it was to go only a couple hours and be in a completely different culture, different language. It was awesome, right? But the other thing too, which kind of surprised me, is that, I'm an American, lived here my whole life, and you kind of just get in this mode where you're like, we are the best and we do everything the best way. And it was cool to go to another country and sort of see the little small things that they do better. I was like, oh, a very small example. In Paris, in France, some of the food that they eat, something I would never touch here, and I was amazed at how good it was. Like escargot, is a great example.
Oh, that's good.
So good, right?
Yeah.
Their pastries, they're not as sugary or as sweet as we have them. Also a lot of more natural ingredients and stuff like that. Just little things like that. I was like really blown away by.
I'm like dripping with envy right now.
Oh, dude, if you have the chance, everyone should travel outside their country, because it's just so awesome, right? It's just kind of puts everything in perspective. So
all I got is Canada right now, which is awesome, and I love Canada.
Yeah, me too. I do, absolutely. But and actually, Vancouver, when you go up to Vancouver, feels like a different country to me.
Yeah, because it is.
Well, okay, fair enough. But I mean, considering it's only like 3 hours away.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So smart ass. Thanks for the question.